Hi, I'm John Paulsford and welcome to AutoBiz Online. Block exemption. You may have heard of it, but many of us don't have a full understanding about why this EU regulation is so important for the independent sector. In a recent conversation with Wendy Williamson, the Chief Executive of the Independent Automotive Aftermarket Federation, or IAAF, I asked Wendy to give me a brief explanation of what block exemption is all about. Hi Wendy, thank you for joining us today.
No problem.
Today we're going to talk about block exemption. Now it's a concept that's often talked about, but I guess that an awful lot of people have got only a limited understanding of what it entails. I wonder, could you give us a brief overview of block exemption, when it came into effect and the safeguards that it is put into effect for the independent sector?
Essentially, block exemption, it's a huge piece of legislation covering vehicle manufacturers and how they sell new cars. But obviously the bit that we're concerned about relates to parts and maintenance and service in the independent sector. So from an independent perspective, there are three main drivers of block exemption. It gives the independent sector the right to repair cars from day one. It gives the independent sector the right to get hold of the right data to repair the cars. And thirdly, garages are allowed to fit parts of OE matching quality without having to rely on the actual original part, which makes it, from a competitive point of view, gives us a level playing field.
So without these protections, then the future of the independent sector is really in question, I take it.
Some aspects of it, yes. I mean, we've got many bits of legislation that all dovetail, but the way I would describe block exemption is that it underpins all the other legislation by giving us that right to repair cars from day one, which is absolutely key.
And it's very much back on the agenda, as you say, because of the 2023 deadline. I wonder, could you just explain the work that the IAAF does in conjunction with other European representative bodies in ensuring that this protection remains in place?
Yeah, certainly. Well, we actually started last year, in 2019, in February, where we sought some views of the members to draw out a roadmap of everything that needed to be done before 2023. And this is primarily being worked on a European level. So we've been working with our European trade body, FIGIFA, who are very much involved with the Commission in terms of developing the new legislation. And what we have done so far is worked with the Commission in doing a questionnaire which has gone out to businesses all over Europe to assess their views on what impact block exemption has made. Now we're yet to see the results of that questionnaire. That has been delayed because of COVID-19. As many people who were supposed to be answering the questionnaire simply were not around and they'd been furloughed. So we're still awaiting the response from that. But in the meantime, FIGIFA have set up a working party, and we've got some of our members who really are the coalface involved in that, in developing what we need in the new legislation. Because I think essentially the big difference between when the legislation was originally put together 20 years ago is technology has changed out of all recognition, and you know, the connectivity that you get with vehicles these days, we're really trying to not just protect what we currently have, but update it to reflect the digital age.
Okay, so some very important work going on at the present time then.
Very much so, yes.
Now, Ireland will, of course, remain in the EU after from the start of next year, and the UK
Yes.
will be leaving. How do you see the impact of Brexit on block exemption regulations? And do you see the two markets perhaps diverging in their regulations, or would you foresee the UK very much staying closely aligned to EU block exemption rules?
You are, of course, asking the million-dollar question here.
Yes.
And I'm sure if I knew the answer, I would be very well sought after. The simple answer is we just don't know. I would like to think that we will closely align with what the EU are doing when it comes to block exemption. And really, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, because our market is really no different from any of the other big players in Europe, Germany, France, Italy. So really, we are working on the basis that we're still continuing to feed into what the EU are doing, but at the same time, we are then going to be using that to feed that into our own UK government to ensure that we try and end up with exactly the same legislation as they're looking to put in Europe. However, we just don't know what the viewpoint of the government are going to be. I mean, clearly, the whole point of Brexit is that we have got the freedom to make our own laws, do our own thing. But there's a piece of legislation on type approval that actually comes into effect in September. And the UK government just very recently went out on a consultation, and they've announced the results of that, which pretty much will mean that the legislation, as it's going to be implemented in the EU, will be pretty much the same for the UK, barring a few local caveats. So that gives me some comfort that we will take a similar path.
Okay, Wendy, that's been very enlightening. Thank you very much for joining us today, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.